sir. Yes, sir. Welcome to a new edition of the Sports Shop 27.
Right, man.
I'm your host, Jermaine Coulter. And to my far right, I got my main man, KJ, Kevin Johnson, former
That's right.
Clemson cornerback from 99 to 02.
Who too?
And today's
Right.
special guest, oh, man, we got a
Come on, man.
the first one on the Sports Shop 27.
Hey, it's
She is
journalist.
the co-founder of Double Take Sports. She is also the editor and chief executive. Y'all help me give it up for
Come
Miss
on with it, man.
Carita
Hey,
Park.
what's up? What's up?
What's going on, Carita?
That
Hey.
was a great intro, the collage and your intro. So appreciate y'all for having me.
What's
Excited.
up, man? Good shots, man.
All right. Appreciate it. For the people that don't know you, Carita, let them know where you're from and a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I am from Jacksonville, Florida,
Okay.
Duval County.
Duval.
Right, Duval.
And Duval.
All right.
And I'm in DC. I live in the DC area now. I moved here about 10 years ago, but I was born and raised in Jacksonville. As far as my background, I have a background in communications and PR. And then, I know we'll get into it, but I later transitioned into doing sports journalism. And I still do PR, but I'm really heavy on my sports journalism right now. But PR will always be my foundation and something I can always go to. And I try to wrap that into a lot of my sports talk when I have an opportunity.
All
Oh
right.
yeah. Good job. Good job. All right. So growing up, did you play any sports, and what sport was your first love?
So growing up, I ran track in middle school and high school. I was a sprinter. I ran the 100, 200, 4x100. And track kind of runs in my family. That's really the only sport
Oh,
everyone has played. My aunt, my uncles. So, track runs through the blood. So that was probably my, first love because I was involved in it and participated in it. But just as far as from a spectator perspective, I would say NFL football, loved it. And that comes from my mom. She watched all sports, NFL, NBA. She even liked tennis. But I really fell in love with NFL. That was my thing, and
right.
still is. But I kind of fold things in there. So that's kind of my sports story. Started off with track and field, so that's where the competitiveness comes from and the love for
There you
sport. And then it kind of, coincided with being around my mom too. And the Jaguars was an expansion team. We were late in the game in 1997. So I was old, I'm old enough to remember how that all unfolded. So, I was a part of that too. So.
All right. So growing up in Jacksonville, who were some of the athletes that you were inspired by besides your family members in your area?
That's kind of funny because I feel like when I was deep in school, and this is no shade, but I can't think of an athlete that just stood out in Jacksonville. I mean, yeah, I couldn't think of an athlete that just stood out in Jacksonville. I mean, we have some people from there, like Brian Dawkins is from Jacksonville. Derrick Henry's from Jacksonville, but he's from Yulee, which is right outside of Jacksonville. So we have some athletes that came up from Jacksonville, but just during that time, I can't really think of anyone that I just gravitated towards. That's just my honest thought.
No problem.
All right. Yeah, so I know once you got on the high school level, you say you ran track and everything like that. So what did you start off with? Was you a sprinter or long distance runner?
Yeah, so I was a sprinter. Like I said, I ran the 100, 200, and the 4x100. I was the anchor in the 4x100. And, like I said, I ran the 200, the 100, but I was definitely a sprinter. I was not a long distance runner. I did not like practice where we had to run a mile and do all of that. I'm like, let me just get out here on the block, do my 100, 200, and call it a day. To this day, I'm still not a fan of anything approaching a mile. So unless I'm walking.
Yeah,
But
I got you.
money. Nah, just give me something like boom, real quick.
Yeah, most definitely.
So in high school in Jacksonville, who were some of the schools that were competition for you guys? Who was the competition in your area?
You know, it was a lot because people may not know this, and I think this is a bit of an anomaly, but Jacksonville has almost 40 high schools, I believe.
Wow.
Because it's one of the largest cities by land mass. And
Yep.
so there's a lot of competition. I mean, at that time, Reigns and Reebok, which was across town, like they was always going to give you a run for your money. If I remember correctly, at White High School as well, they were going to give you a run for your money. First Coast High School. Those are some of the ones off the top of my head, but Wilson High School, I mean, there was a lot of competition in the city, if I'm being honest. But like I said, I think it's because there were so many high schools, so there were so many athletes that came together in that area. But those are just some of the high schools off the top of my head that I can remember. Did I say Wolfson? Let me throw Wolfson in there too. Okay.
All right.
But yeah, those are some of the ones.
All right.
All right. Coming out of high school, what university did you attend, and what was your major starting off?
Yeah, so after high school, I attended the University of North Florida. I actually stayed home. I had this dream of wanting to go to FSU for so long, and then I pivoted at the last minute. It was like, I'm just going to stay home and, pay this local tuition at this university and still, live at home, save up my money, that kind of thing. But it's funny because all of this kind of led me to being here in DC, but went to the University of North Florida, got my undergrad in communications with a focus on PR because I always had a love for sports and I wanted to do sports PR. That's what I wanted to do, which I did do some of that and still do some of that to this day. But that's what my undergraduate degree was in. And then I went off and I started working a bit and I decided to go back to school and get my master's in business administration. So I got that from Jacksonville University.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So that's what my college life kind of looked like. And like I said, that led me to where I am now a little bit because with the MBA, I met someone who was like a vice president of an agency in Jacksonville. And he thought I was talented, brought me on, and that agency is how I ended up in DC. So I always look back on that and I'm like, I wanted to do one thing, but my path sent me another way, but ultimately it ended up taking me where I was supposed to be.
Okay. So can you take us back to your first communication or PR job that you got during that time?
I sure can. So I knew I wanted to work in sports. Jacksonville doesn't have a lot of options. We had the Jaguars, but of course that was going to be a lot of competition. So I ended up applying for a job at the First Tee, which is headquartered in St. Augustine, Florida. And it is at the time, it was a youth golf organization that was focused on bringing more minorities into golf. And now it's broader than that. It is bringing more minorities into golf, but also they just want to bring more youth into golf, for the future of the sport. But I worked there for 4 years. I was a communications and marketing coordinator. I started off as a communications assistant, I believe. And then I advanced to communications and marketing coordinator. So like I said, I was there for 4 years. And it was a really good job to have out of college because the First Tee is associated with the PGA Tour, but also it introduced me to the game of golf. I had no interest in golf. I mean, Florida is a golf state. There's courses everywhere, but it just wasn't my interest like that. And I really appreciate that job till this day because, like I said, it gave me another completely different look at golf. And I traveled to some of the best golf courses in the United States through that job. I've been to Pebble Beach Golf Course, which is one of the most famous ones in California. So that was my first job out of college. And looking back on it, that was a really good job to have out of college.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate it.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Talk about, I think you work with Penny Hardaway on a radio station. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I ultimately continued to work. And then the agency that I spoke of earlier, that gave me a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. And so when I moved to DC, I decided that I was going to keep working because I'm not going to make any rash decisions. But I also wanted to start my own PR consulting agency, which I did. And Penny Hardaway, his radio show, The Bottom Line Sports Show, was one of my clients. I worked with him. And then there was another host. And it was a great opportunity with Penny working on the radio show and bringing more publicity to the show. There was, at the time, he did a reunion with Chris Rock. And I don't know do you all
Little Penny.
Little Penny?
Yeah,
Okay.
Little Penny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a little
The
reunion.
commercial.
And I did publicity around that to bring awareness that they were going to have this reunion on the show. So that got into some good magazines. We got to the New York Times sports section, Ebony magazine, and a couple of other placements. In addition to that, in a way to promote their show during the NBA finals, they had a cook-off, and Charles Oakley likes to cook.
Okay.
So he was a part of the cook-off. I mean, he was throwing down, y'all. Like the kitchen is his place. And it was something that was spawned because of the friendship that Charles Oakley has with Penny Hardaway and then some of the other individuals that were involved in the show. So they had like an NBA Finals cookout at a sports bar in New Jersey. Fans were there. They were able to get autographs. It was Penny and Charles Oakley, Nerlin Noels. And I feel like I'm missing somebody, but it was a great time. And that's just a few things that I did with Penny, but it was a great opportunity. I mean, Penny Hardaway is one of the, his career didn't end the way he wanted it to, but he's still one of the most influential NBA players of our time. So that was a great opportunity. Something I really appreciated.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Carita, since you were working in a male-driven, industry, did you ever felt overwhelmed or out of place as a female up and coming in that area?
That's a really good question, actually. The funny thing is, I feel like I have a certain quiet confidence. That's what people have told me. Like I have a quiet confidence. Okay. And so I don't feel like in the industry it's been as challenging. It does have its challenges for sure. The funny thing is, I feel like the challenges have come more so from being an independent journalist with my own company and having to convince these people, even though I have the credentials, that, it's worth your time to partner with me or, allow us to cover your team. That is definitely a lot of hard work. But fans are actually the ones that kind of can be the issue, in all honesty, when it comes to being a woman in this industry, because I'll say something, and I'll give you an example. I'm on site with the Ravens. I'm on site with the Wizards, and I'll focus on the male sports because I feel like that's where you get the sideways comments more. Okay. But I'm saying something from my knowledge of being on site with these teams, and somebody will try to correct me. And it's like, this is firsthand information. You're not out here correcting Adam Scheffner like that. You're not out here correcting Shams. You know what I mean? So I say what I'm saying intentionally. So I don't need the correction. Now, if you have an opinion or a different side of the story, okay, let's talk about it. But it's the just feeling like they know more than you. And that's when and a lot of times, it's because you're a female and they're not 100% convinced on what you had to say or your knowledge. So
Okay.
I see it more dealing in being in the fan crowd versus necessarily that. Like I said, the challenges I have in the industry come more from being a small independent outlet.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe, than being a woman.
All right.
Oh yeah. So talk about being the CEO and founder of your own sports company.
And let me just say that's my experience. Not everybody has the same experience.
Okay, all right.
That's my experience.
I understand.
So, Double Take Sports, being the CEO and founder of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's my pride and joy, and I will fight for it, and I will work hard for it. And it's something that was put on my spirit to start my company. This was back in 2020. And truthfully, it was put on my spirit before that. But 2020 was the pandemic, and I had time to intentionally sit down and focus on what I wanted to do. But I really felt that a couple of things. There are up and coming journalists of color who have a hard time getting in this industry. So I wanted to create a space for serious up and coming journalists to be able to be introduced to this industry. That's one thing. But also I felt that I had another perspective to offer. A lot of time athletes are looked at as a commodity and not necessarily as people. And I think that that's something that I've been really good at throughout my career, is connecting with athletes on a human level. And I wanted to bring that aspect as well to fans. And that's why I named the company Double Take Sports, and my tagline is bringing you another side of the story, because as much as possible, I try to do that. Now, because I am covering teams, I still have to bring the analysis and the game recaps. I still have to do that, but I make an effort to try to tell different stories. And so that is really what Double Take Sports is about for me. I feel like we're able to offer something unique to the industry. We're one of the only Black-owned sports media companies that is credentialed on site with teams. So it's something that I'm very proud of, and that I will continue to pour into and continue to grow.
Okay. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get into some highlights real quick. For everybody watching, make sure you subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, Instagram, Deezer, and Facebook. We have Chief Executive Officer and editor and founder of Double Take Sports, Carita Parks. All right. Stay with me, Carita. We don't own the rights to this video, and we'll be right back. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
This is Carita Parks with Double Take Sports at Capital One Arena, where the Washington Mystics just completed their first of 2 back-to-backs. As you may or may not know, the Washington Mystics typically play at the Entertainment and Sports Arena, but due to high demand, they moved the Chicago Sky game and the Indiana Fever game to the arena to accommodate more fans. It was a packed house, as the Chicago Sky were the first to show up. It was a homecoming for Angel Reese, but also the Mystics were seeking their first win of the season. Unfortunately, they fell to the Sky 79-70. The Mystics had a really strong first half. They went into halftime with all the momentum, but when they came out of halftime, it seemed like the momentum shifted over to the Sky, who in the third quarter outscored the Mystics 25-10, and the Mystics were only able to muster up 27 points in the second half. This has been the story of the season so far. It's been the second half, particularly the fourth quarter, where there's been turnovers or more, and the Mystics just haven't been able to finish. So it's been an Achilles heel for them so far. But on the bright side, rookie Aaliyah Edwards, she had a career high 23 points tonight. It was considered the battle of the rookies with Angel Reese here. And so, Aaliyah showed that she can be on the same court and also show out with the best of them. The Mystics just have to find an answer, and hopefully they can get there tomorrow against the Indiana Fever. But It's just too hard to tell whether or not they'll be able to cap it off. But the Fever right now are also still trying to find their identity. So hopefully the Mystics can capitalize and get that first win of the season at Capital One Arena in front of all of their fans. This is Carita Parks with Double Take Sports. Be sure to follow us at DBL Take Sports on all social media platforms.
All right, we back.
Right.
So, Carita, just want to ask one question. How does it feel to cover the women's WNBA with two revolutionary players like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese entering into the WNBA last season?
Oh yeah, man.
It's an excellent time for women's sports in general, but especially women's basketball. And I'm so grateful to be a part of it. And the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark competition, but I don't think it was really a competition with them. They're competitors on the court, but the way everybody else pitted them against each other is a completely different story. But nonetheless, it made for good basketball. It brought new fans to the WNBA. But I've been covering the WNBA since 2019, and I will say there's been talent. There has been talent there for years. And a lot of people are just really finding that out because of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. But I mean, the league has been balling for years. It's just they haven't had the money, the partnerships, the sponsorships behind them to where it's been able to elevate to the level that it is now. But I'm glad to see the game grow. I'm glad to see the WNBA grow. We see already next season that games against the Indiana Fever, at least the Mystics games, have been moved to a bigger arena yet again. And I have to double check. I can't remember if the Sky had been moved, but the Mystics had about 5 games that they had to move to a bigger arena. And when I started covering the Mystics, they moved to a smaller arena because Capital One Arena, which is where the Wizards play, was way too big. So it's kind of funny that now they need to go back to bigger arenas for some of these games.
I'm gonna ask this question. I'm gonna let KJ. Wouldn't you agree that what Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark brought to the WNBA were kind of similar to what Larry Bird and Magic Johnson brought to the NBA when they came into the league?
I mean, that's a great comparison. And what I do think is interesting is what I will say about the Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark is in my time, and don't quote me, but I haven't seen such a big two people that have been such a huge rival, so to speak, in the WNBA since I've been here. Just, the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark rival is something that people want to see. And I love that. I mean, there's always, like I said, there's always been competition, but a rivalry of this sort, just off the top of my head, I can't think of one.
Okay,
cool. All right. Well, what do you love the most about being a sports journalist? Is it the traveling, the team to team, or what is it that you love the most about it?
I mean, just a little bit of all of it. I love the creativity and the ability that I have the freedom and that I partner with organizations and even my organizations where I have the ability to tell the stories that I want to tell. I don't have to throw the athlete under the bus to make headlines. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. All right.
Some people have to do that depending on what the editor wants or what that outlet needs. So I love the ability to just be able to tell my own story on my terms, the way that I want to do it, and highlight the athletes, not just what they're doing on the field, but off the field. So that's one of the things I love. I do love the travel. I like to see what other stadiums are, what they look like, how they operate.
Oh, yeah.
They have some of the newer stadiums now, like SoFi's, and then there's still some stadiums that are older. So you experience those too. But I love the travel and building the relationships with the players. I mean, I value that because these guys have dealt with, some of them have had negative media situations or just situations where they don't necessarily trust the media, which is understood. That can definitely happen. So I just like building those relationships and building those trust, because once you have that, then they're willing to work with you on just about anything.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I got a clip you right here interviewing Kevin Durant. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. For everybody that's watching, make sure you subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, Deezer, Instagram, and all your social media platforms. We have Double Take Sports founder and editor and chief executive officer, Miss Carita Parks, all right, from Jacksonville, Florida. Let's go ahead and get into it. And everybody, make sure you stay tuned. We don't own the rights to this video. Stay with us, Carita.
Over here.
Hey, Katie, Carita Parks. Later today is the HBCU Classic. As someone who supports HBCUs, how important do you think it is for these schools to have an opportunity to be on a platform such as All-Star?
It's huge. It's huge. It's just an opportunity for people around the country to see the type of talent they have at HBCUs. There's a lot of hidden gems there. Great coaching, great talent, up and down the board. So, if we can give them the platform and showcase their talents and skills, and we need to do so. So I'm excited for them. And, hopefully this has become an annual thing and we start to see more and more talent come to HBCUs.
All right, we back. So Carita, talk about being in the being in the NBA arena, transition to the men's a little bit. What are the difference? I know NBA's been around for a long time. We have a lot of generational players that's playing right now that pretty much moving towards the end of their career. Talk about some of those players and the way the NBA operates a little bit.
It's interesting how you just mentioned how some of the guys are transitioning out of their career, because I think about when I started covering the NBA, and it's just progressively got younger and younger and younger. And then now, the league as a whole has gotten younger. There's barely, you got LeBron still hanging around and a few others, but there's barely some of those staple players that I grew up on that are still in the league. And then even looking at the Wizards now, they might have a 25-year-old on that team. I can't remember. I don't remember how old Jordan Poole is. No, I lied, because I think Chris Middleton is probably one of the oldest players, him and Marcus Smart. But they're a super, super young squad. But as far as the differences, like you said, the NBA has been around longer. It's more established. They have the partnerships and the sponsorships that the WNBA is still fighting to get. So it is a little bit of a more elevated experience in that sense. But I will say this, the girls, they play just as hard as the men. If not harder. So let me just put that out there. The intensity and the physicality is extremely similar. Obviously, you don't see as many women dunking and things like that, but just the physicality, it's very similar on both ends. And then as far as other differences with the WNBA players, it is a little easier to get those one-on-ones or get those interviews with the NBA players, because a lot of them have been around for a while. It's a different approach. You don't always get them. But you can definitely catch them in different settings. But I would say because those players are considered more popular, more established, it's just a little bit different and less casual. Like I love how the WNBA and I'm talking from a media perspective, is a little bit more casual. Like I said, you could catch the ladies in a bit of a more casual setting, where it's a bit more formal on the NBA side for sure.
Okay.
All right. And so what are your thoughts about DeAndre Hopkins joining the Baltimore Ravens? You think they got a chance to make it to the Super Bowl or anything like that?
I love it. The Ravens have been on the verge for the past 2 seasons of, well, they were on the verge the season before last with going to the AFC Championship. They were right there. Then last year they went to the divisional round, lost in the divisional round. So the expectation continues to be they have the talent. You have Lamar Jackson, first of all, but they do have the talent on the team to make that next step. They just have to make the next step. But as far as DeAndre Hopkins, I love it because it does add depth to the wide receiver group. Nelson Aguilar doesn't appear that he's coming back. They did re-sign Tylan Wallace. They do still have Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers, who are their number 1 and number 2. But DeAndre Hopkins, in my opinion, one, he brings that veteran presence, but he also brings a different dynamic to that wide receiver group. One of the questions I had for him is what makes his game so effective 12, 13 seasons in. And he talked about, being able to read defenses quickly. But what stood out to me is he's talked about contested catches. He's able to make those catches that are sometimes seem impossible to make.
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't think the Ravens have a receiver that has that same ability. They have great receivers, but DeAndre Hopkins is going to get that ball that might seem a little bit more impossible to get. But they all have their strengths. Zay Flowers has his strengths. Rashad Bateman has his strengths. Love what, Rashad really came into his own last season after being first couple seasons, he dealt with injuries. So he really, really came into his own last season. And I just think that DeAndre Hopkins, it gives you somebody else on the field that you have to be concerned about.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
So it was a couple moves this week in the NFL. Cleveland traded Jameis Winston to New York Giants, and Russell Wilson just signed with the Giants today.
I know Jameis was like.
So with those moves right there, let me ask you, what do you think that Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders will land in the draft this year?
It's looking more and more like Cam Ward is going to be the number 1 pick and go to the Titans. I do think prior to the combine, there was more kind of back and forth between Shedeur and Cam Ward. But at the combine and since the combine, everything right now points to Cam Ward going to the Tennessee Titans. As far as Shedeur Sanders, I think it's a possibility he could end up with the Browns. I don't know how, I mean, it's possible. I think the Browns they're in the market for a quarterback. I'm trying to think. They don't have a quarterback right now as far as, and Myles Garrett, he wanted to go, right?
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. Money talks. So, money talks. But I feel like there's probably a plan that they also were able to get him to buy into to the money. And I think there was probably a plan that they got him to buy into. So I think it could be a possibility. Also during the combine, the Browns was just doing a lot of tweeting around the quarterbacks, around Shedeur, around Cam Ward. So I don't know. Shedeur, I feel, is a little bit more interesting now as far as where he could possibly land. But my guess for now is maybe the Browns. But I do think the Titans will take Cam Ward. From what I've heard, they like his upside and his, Shedeur Sanders could come in and definitely make an instant impact, but they like, Cam Ward's long term.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I think Shedeur might end up with the Raiders. I don't know why. It's just something about Geno Smith.
I think I like that better.
Why do you say that, man?
It's just something about Geno Smith moving to the Raiders and Shedeur being mentored by Tom Brady. Tom Brady has some, ownership with the Raiders. So that's a lot of influence there. I think the pieces are moving around a little bit. I think Jackson Dart's on the board from Ole Miss, that he might move up in the stock, probably with the Jets or the Browns or someone else. I'm not sure how it's going to end up, but I feel like it's probably between Cleveland and Las Vegas for Shador.
I do like the Raiders option.
Yeah.
I like Pete Carroll as a coach. I do. I liked him when he was with the Seahawks. I think he's someone where if Shador did land with the Raiders, that he would really have the patience that some coaches and organizations don't have with a quarterback. And he just has good energy. So I do like that, and definitely kind of would prefer that route. But with Geno Stone, I don't know what their plans are for Geno. Is he the starter, or like you said, maybe they're bringing a quarterback that can have a year to kind of watch Geno. So that's what makes the draft so fun. All this guessing.
Coming up next month.
Yeah, we'll find out
Yeah.
soon. For sure, man. Hey, so did you enjoy the Super Bowl? Did you know the Eagles was going to, come out with a big win like that?
I don't think I thought it was like that. It was going to be like that. I knew that the Eagles were going to be a problem because, listen, much respect to the Chiefs, but they did kind of sputter along on the regular season. These games that you thought it's like, okay, they were not supposed to win that, but they did. But no, I did not see it being a beatdown like that.
Yeah, me either.
But the Eagles was like, we getting our get back. They definitely learned from the first time around, and they did not come to play. And I could respect it.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Just to piggyback off the WNBA situation, a lot of women are thinking about holding out this season for extra pay. They feel like they deserve more money on their salary. It's a lot of NIL players in college that may be getting paid more off the NIL name, image, and likeness than some of the WNBA players. What's your take on that?
I could definitely see it. They've been advocating for more money for years at this point. This has been a continual conversation, and I definitely believe there is some frustration there. They don't want to be paid the same amount as their NBA counterparts, but they do want to be paid what they feel they are worth. And they don't play, 80 game season, but their season is just as intense. Their bodies go through the same thing. Their travel situation is definitely an issue, and they have to deal with that throughout the season. So I could definitely see them at some point. You have to show some action behind your words, right? And a lot of times it's sitting out, or in different situations, depending on what it is, it's protest. But sometimes as players, you do have to come together and say, hey, we mean this, and we want to see some action behind it. But like I said, they've been advocating for this for years. And there's a time, I remember when the Mystics won the 2019 WNBA championship, the very next day, some of those players were leaving to go overseas so they could make more money. It shouldn't be a situation where they have to go overseas
and switch
to make more money and to have a certain quality of life when the NBA players are getting paid millions and millions of dollars, and that's not even necessarily what they are seeking. They're just seeking some form of equity. And like I said, getting paid what they are worth. Now leagues like Unrivaled, Athletes Unlimited, those kind of leagues are helping now, but they still have to do something to supplement their income.
Yeah, I do.
They should be able to play their season, get paid what they are worth, and have an off season where they can rest their bodies and recuperate instead of having to go off and play to continue to make more money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You do know they have a new league, and they just had a championship last week, right? It's a 3-on-3 league. They played it in Florida. I can't remember the name of the league, but Angel Reese was a part of the championship team. For a lot of those women that play, they depend on a lot of sponsorships if they got a high-level name to get that extra income in if they're not getting paid the salary that they, deserve. So what I was going to say is going into the NFL draft now, who are you really thinking is going to be the team to beat going into the next season?
Going into the next season. Well, if the Eagles maintain their roster, I mean, they're definitely a team to beat, and not just because they won the Super Bowl, but they had a pretty strong roster. And Saquon Barkley just really brought a whole different dynamic to the Eagles. And with him still there, I still feel like they're a team to beat. If the Ravens continue to be, there's a lot of teams I feel like could be in the mix. Again, if you really think about it, I feel like you can never count the Chiefs out. They're gonna be salty because of what happened in the Super Bowl. So they're always a team to watch. Like I said, Ravens with Lamar Jackson,
Buffalo.
But the Commanders are excelling as well. Cannot count them out. They went all the way to the
NFC Championship
game. And they used free agency and stacked up more players on the roster to support Jayden Daniels. We don't know what they're going to do in the draft, but there's that. So, man, I think it's hard to call, but those are some teams. And then, if the Bills continue to have a strong season as well, they're a team to watch.
Oh, yep.
A lot of competition out there.
I mean, shoot. Who knows, even with the Bengals, because they done signed T. Higgins and
Chase.
To the field, and Joe Burrow, he's helped as long as he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
He's healthy last year. They could resurge and be dangerous again.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's like so many teams that could be in the mix.
You're right.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
We have another. Go ahead, KJ.
Go ahead. You can play the clip. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to get this clip. We have another clip from DBL Sports. I'm sorry, what is it? Double Take Sports.
Double Take Sports. Yeah.
Yep. I just wanted to make sure I, give the credit to her and give her flowers for coming up with this, sports media group. What is your vision at the end of the day for your sports media group?
What's the vision?
Yeah,
your mission statement or whatever.
So my long-term vision is to continue to expand. Right now, we're focused a lot on the local DC market because I am here, but my goal is to add more reporters in different cities that could cover different teams, and so that it's a little bit more diverse from the perspective of what you can get from the company, the sports. I want people from different states, different cities coming to the site, going to the social media pages, getting their sports information. So that's part of my vision, is to really just continue to grow. At some point, I would like to start a podcast. I just got to find the time. But, that's something that I definitely think is just valuable to what I do. I do have the access and some of the connections. So I think at some point I need to leverage that. And I'd like to definitely have more partnerships and sponsorships and just continue to expand.
All right. With that said, we're going to go into our last clip for the night. For everybody that's watching, make sure you subscribe to our channel, YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Spotify, Deezer, and Instagram. We have founder of Double Take Sports and editor-in-chief executive, Carita Parks, all right, from Jacksonville, Florida, and she's in the D.C. area covering all the sports media there. Make sure you guys subscribe, and we don't own the rights to the clip. Stay with us, Carita.
Hey everyone, this is Carita Parks. I'm here with Sean Alexander at the Players Coalition pop-up food truck. Now, Sean, if you could just tell everyone the correlation between the Players Coalition and what you're doing here with Cafe Memento.
So the Players Coalition is like the NFL. It's our way of saying, hey, here's how we're going to tackle issues that need to be brought attention to, or how we can change the narrative, or actually just cause great change. Cafe Momentum is doing that with the juvenile justice system. You know, so Chad Hauser is the chef, the award-winning chef that really it all started with him teaching some kids in the juvie system how to cook, and they put him in a cooking contest against some kids in the culinary school in Dallas, and one of the kids in the juvie system won, and was so impressed. And Chad, it just hit Chad's heart. He's like, man, how did I judge these kids as maybe hoodlums or thugs, when really they just had some adults around them to love on them and remind them they can do it. And so he changed his restaurant to what we now know as Cafe Momentum. A year paid internship, so now the kids make a little bit of money for their families. But he's got an ecosystem around them, from teaching them how to run the business, but then also social workers, psychologists, development care, after school programs, what they call it, tutors, and the whole nine.
Right.
And so now these kids, I said, oh, you just put aunties and uncles and cousins
Exactly.
around.
That's all they need, though.
And so now you
sometimes.
see the recidivism, it's 15%. Well, most people it's 50%, which is like 50% gonna go back to jail. There's only 15. But if I talked about the low case, that'd be nothing. Those 85%, they're now college graduates. They're working at hospitals.
Yeah.
They go, they're entrepreneurs, starting their own business. And you're now seeing healthy kids put in society and doing what we always knew they could be, is be great U.S. citizens that are kicking tail.
Yeah, so help us understand how the coalition works with Cafe.
So we help bring attention to and promote.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so we use Players Coalition to say, hey, we found a group that's really working the communities and changing the narrative for some black and brown kids, right? And we say, hey, look, let's go put our brand behind it. Like, let's go bring attention to it. Hey, we want to put this in all 32 NFL teams. Well, let's go call those guys that are like-minded in every city and bring them here and say, hey, we want you to help promote this. And then we help bring in the people that make the money, and also help Cafe Momentum find other people that could do the work with them. And all together we form. So we're like the glue that puts it all together.
Great, and yeah, definitely with the names that you put behind something like this, that definitely magnifies the brand.
Yep.
Now, how important is the event that they're doing here today at the Media Center? Obviously, that's bringing even more attention to it, but tell us a little bit about today, how important that is.
So today's luncheon is really about connecting all the other outlets. So Dallas would understand, but it's connecting the Nashville, the Seattle, the Atlanta, the Chicago. It's connecting all of those outlets and saying, hey, here's what we're doing. And y'all probably heard some tremors of it, but this is about to be big.
Yeah.
So we want y'all to be a part of it. We don't want people to come and watch. We want them to come and get in. You know what I mean? And so, hey, take whatever gift you got. If you media, hello, then we want you to tell the story so other people can see it and be a part of it too.
Now, is there, with your involvement, has there been just an impactful moment or something that stands out to you over the time that you have been involved with Cafe Momentum, a particular story or anything?
Yeah, it's constant stories. Even little Jadarius that went around with me out here at the Super Bowl, he's like, I'll never be the same again.
Wow.
And so why? It's because I just opened up his mind to what success could look like. And then we're over here sharing stories, and he's like, man, like, you're a superstar, you've been on video games, and I didn't know that your dad had 9 kids from 4 different women. Like, you kind of could be a hoodlum like me. Yeah. But I had some aunties and uncles, I had some cousins, some friends, all come around, and we all remind each other that one incident ain't gonna make us, and the mistakes of people in front of us ain't gonna make us either.
Right.
And so now he's like, dude, I know what I can do. I'm like, yeah, you got it, And so that just happened this week, you know what I mean? And so let alone little Maya, who's now, she graduated magna cum laude, and, and she was homeless when we met her, homeless 16-year-old, and now she's magna cum laude. She's now a nurse assistant at a children's hospital in Texas. Well, man, we got the stories. Like, it's amazing this happened. Yeah.
Now, I know you mentioned expanding to other cities. Has that happened so far?
Yeah, so we just broke ground in Nashville and in Pittsburgh. We're going to announce tomorrow the 4th city. And so it's starting to happen.
It's growing. Okay. Well, I have to ask you, your Super Bowl prediction before I let you go.
Yeah. Well, I was born in Florence, Kentucky. That's 10 minutes outside of Cincinnati. So I'm going with my heart. My mind says the Rams should win, but my heart says the Bengals gonna figure it out.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So we're going with the Bengals, 31-27.
Oh, you got a score too. So you heard it here first. If the Bengals win.
That's right.
Thank you so much for your time.
All right.
Watching.
That was 2022. Super Bowl, Bengals versus LA Rams, the nice Super Bowl halftime performance. Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg. Did you actually attend the Super Bowl that year?
I did not attend the Super Bowl that year. Every Super Bowl, I kind of go back and forth. Some Super Bowls I attend the game, some I just come back home. A lot of people don't know that during Super Bowl for media, so much of what we do happens during the week.
Mm-hmm.
And then like by the weekend, it's like we done seen everybody, talked to everybody. It was like, let me go home. But sometimes I do stay for the game. So
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, so do you have a message for the youth?
I do. I would say just in whatever you do, just do the work hard. They say faith without works is dead, and that's true. Just do the work hard. But also, if you have a dream, don't feel like it can't be accomplished. You can do anything that you set your mind to, and don't let anyone talk you out of your dream or make you feel like you're dreaming too big or thinking too big. If it was put on your heart or put in your spirit, just keep working and know there's going to be challenges along the way. It may not be an easy path, but if it is something that you want to do, then do the work and don't let anyone talk you out of it. And don't let the challenges get you down. Take a little break, regroup, bounce back, and keep going.
Yeah,
good stuff. Do you have any merch stores for Double Takeout Sports? If you do, let the people know where they can get that merch from.
I do. So I have a storefront on my website, www.dbltakesports.com. So if you go to the website and on the main menu, you'll see shop. So hit that shop button and there is an abundance of merch available. So definitely support the brand, support us, buy the merchandise, spread the word, read the content, watch the content, all of that.
All right. Cool.
Any shout outs to family and friends?
Yeah, definitely got to give a shout out to my family, my mom, everyone back home in Jacksonville who, support my dreams, and no one has ever thought I was crazy for going for what I wanted to go for. And you have to have that support, being able to bounce ideas off my family, but also my friends, because they're there for me too. And, they listen to my complaints, but also when I take a break, they down to be outside, so family, friends, definitely appreciate all of them for supporting me, being there for me in whatever way I need at that time. So
yeah. Now, it was a pleasure having you on the show. What do you think about coming on the Sports Shop 27?
Say that one more time.
It was a pleasure having you on the show. I say, what do you think about the Sports Shop 27, your first experience?
Great time. Enjoyed the questions, enjoyed the clips, because I post them, but I don't really go back and look at them. In depth, I should say. So sitting here watching my interviews from a couple years ago, like the recent ones, I see all the time, but some of the ones that I've done, further back, I haven't seen in a while. So that was fun too.
No problem.
Yeah, if you know any pro athletes that love to come on the show, please reach out to us.
For sure.
We'd love to have them.
All right. Well, you guys just tune into a new edition of Sports Shop 27. I'm your host, Jermaine Coulter. I'd like to thank my main man, Kevin Johnson,
Right.
from Clemson Corner from 99 to 2002. And today's special guest, I'd like to thank Double Take Sports, Double Take Out Sports, Chief Executive and also editor, founder, Carita Parks, all right? She's a freelance journalist, and she's moving all across the country at a rapid pace.
Taking over, baby.
Buy her merch and follow her page and her links on social media, Instagram, follow the YouTube page. And also you can get the Sports Shop 27 merchandise. The link's right below the screen, right there on the ticker. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and buy our merch as well. Everybody know our motto at the end of the show. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And until next time, you guys have a good night. All right. Thanks, Carita, for coming on. We'd love to see you again.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
No problem.
Have a good one. Thank you again.
No problem. Y'all have a good night.
You too.